Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is CM Alexander with the news. Derry Public Library's annual Dodge Book Tournament begins today as teams from all over the country gather to compete for the coveted championship. We take you live to sports correspondent Dr. John Hellajohn.
Thanks, CM. The Michael Frightens found themselves in the loss world today, being eliminated from the competition early on. Those George Gorwells clearly have a big brother watching over them as they advance to the next round.
You're listening to Derry Public Radio. This is Derry Public Radio. Welcome back to Derry Public Radio, a bi-weekly Stephen King Book Club podcast. I am one of your hosts, CM Alexander, alongside Joshua Kahn.
Hey, everybody.
And Benjamin Graham.
Hey, constant readers.
Today, we are back with a classic Derry bonus episode. It is time for March Madness. I still don't understand it, but luckily Josh and Ben do. And Josh is going to explain what we're doing this year and take us through our bracket.
Yeah.
I did it.
You sure did. You're getting so good at sportsing.
Thanks.
All right. So this year we've decided that for our March Madness, we are going to take the top 16 adaptations that we've watched, and we're going to put them in the bracket. And I gave them the seed order based on the chambray shirt score we gave them. And we're going to go through and decide once and for all what our favorite adaptation is.
Do you think that this is really where our rating system is going to fall apart?
This is absolutely. It is going to instantly show the slapdash nature of how we grade things.
It was very apparent as I listened to all of our movie episodes. I have the final score sheet. Would you guys like the honorable mentions of the movies that did not make the top 16?
Yeah.
For sure. I feel like I definitely have a few guesses.
The number 16 spot that is in is the lowest score of 9 cumulative chambray shirts. So everything on this list is 8 or below. So I'm going to start at the 8s, which we have a lot of 7s. We've done a lot of 7s on this show. So the movies that did not make the top 16 are The Dead Zone, The Stand, Firestarter, Dolan's Cadillac, Salem's Lot, and shocking no one, Apt Pupil.
The Stand?
Yeah, The Stand was a 7.
Is that both adaptations or
is the
90s?
Garris.
The Mick Garris adaptation.
That seems wrong. I have to apologize already. I'm sorry, listeners.
So those are the honorable mentions that didn't quite make it, which is crazy. As I just said, that Cell is at 16. We gave Cell a cumulative higher score than any of those.
See, throw the whole system out. It is flawed from the beginning.
That upsets me a little bit.
It's almost like our scores are arbitrary and in the moment with no firm rules.
Yeah, like what happened to us the day we watched this thing together? That definitely impacts the score, I guess.
It definitely does. I can say, though, re-listening to those episodes, when we get to those scores, I'm like, oh, all right, yeah. So it still makes sense to me because those scores are just different for very different reasons.
Okay.
So now we're going to get into our round 1 matchups. So let's talk about the matchups that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to run through them real quick. We have up first The Dark Half, which was our first 5 out of 5 blue chambray shirts all the way around. So Dark Half was our first perfect score for a movie. And like I said, going up against Cell. Then we will have The Running Man versus Dolores Claiborne, Pet Sematary versus The Tommyknockers, and Christine versus Stand By Me. I posted these matchups earlier to our social media, and there are some mixed responses already as to some of these matchups seeming more brutal than others. So let's kick things off with what I feel like is going to be the easiest one. Let's start with our first matchup, The Dark Half versus Cell.
Every year we have this the first pairing, and just it's the format of how brackets work.
Yeah.
But it always seems so unfair.
Okay, so do I understand this more than I think?
It's
Then-
just the highest rated goes up against the lowest rated,
Okay,
and that
yeah,
is
it's
as
just-
unfair
okay.
as it seems.
Mhm.
The dark half is fantastic. Just for the bird scene at the end. That's all you need.
Of all the scenes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arguably where it loses you.
Yeah.
What do you guys remember most when you think about the Dark Half adaptation?
I remember the dream sequences. I remember the special effects, the ones that really worked well. Man, George Stark stabbing himself, kicking the bottle of Jack Daniels off the table and catching it in his hand. Like the most badass moment in cinematic history. I'm just going to say it. It is.
It's pretty rad.
I want to learn how to do that so badly. I don't know when I would like whip that out to show people.
You can start practicing whenever.
That's true.
The only
very
one
true.
holding you back is you,
That's-
Sam.
Yeah. The only bad thing about the dark half at all is what came out of it that is specific to our show that I hate.
But this is the movie. That came out from the book. You can't blame that on the movie.
I probably will.
When I think of the Dark Half, I mean, obviously the big problem that we had with it is that Alan Pangborn is Michael Rooker, and Michael Rooker is not Alan Pangborn.
I thought our big problem was just Thad.
Well, Timothy Hutton acted his ass off across both of these characters.
Yeah.
And this movie did give us Ask Mama If She Believes This. I just remember that moment when we were
Yeah.
watching the movie and Ben and I leaning forward. Just, is he going to say it? Is he going to do the thing? Is he doing the thing? And he did it! For that reason alone, I think it's the superior movie. I think that's why we gave it 5 out of 5 blue chambray shirts, as they included that. Let's talk about who it's going up against. Going up against Cell.
I have more feelings about this. But I know we're talking about the movie, but I wish I would have given the book like 2 blue chambray shirts. Whatever I gave it.
5.
What the fuck is wrong with me? That was wrong. Like, anyway, in the movie was not much better. It had some interesting moments, but it seemed unfinished or like something had happened to it and they never addressed that.
All I can think of when I think of the Cell movie is the first time I watched it, long before the podcast, was so excited because I had heard that this movie had been in production for a while. It sounds on paper like it should be good because it's John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson, who were in one of our favorite adaptations. Like, they're back together again. This should be great. And the day I found out that it was available to watch, I was so excited and I sat down and just getting through the credit sequence
Just the
Yeah.
and thinking, there's been a mistake.
Yeah.
Like,
We got a proof copy. or
yeah,
something.
am I watching the wrong movie? Am I watching yeah, exactly.
Like you got it from a different country and it's not Cell.
Yeah. It was just so surreal and not a good adaptation whatsoever.
That airport scene, though, is such great action.
Yeah.
I would argue there are 4 incredible things about Cell that I think are the reason it deserves to be the 16th seed above those movies that didn't make it. So, first is the airport scene. Second is just Samuel L. Jackson, period, full stop. Third, DJ Liquid.
I have no idea what that
The
means.
rapper that they had on the train that was like, we were like,
God.
is he going to be a main character?
And then he died
he dies
as soon as we had that.
very
He was
soon.
on screen long enough for you to question his
register.
presence.
Yeah.
And then they killed him.
And the bar fight scene when they do Alice's death, that scene is played so well.
I kind of agree with that. I thought you were going to mention the one scene that John Cusack is like really present for.
Yeah.
He's not phoning it in. But I think that kind of hurts it. It's like, oh, I see what you could have done.
Right,
and you
yeah.
chose not to, except right here.
That great scene with Alice right before she dies.
Yeah, that was probably the best scene for me.
As far as adaptation goes, it was not wonderful or very true or accurate.
Wow. In my head, I'm thinking, yeah, it was a pretty faithful adaptation and it sucked as much as the source material.
Well, this was one of those books to movie translations that we'd talked about, if I recall, that you get way more out of it having both pieces of the material because it fills in some blanks.
Yeah.
And it adds things like the phoner that they had with the bag over his head that was like their sonar, or the John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson driving over bodies in the field, passing that decanter of liquor back and forth. The movie has some great moments.
It
I
does.
did forget about that scene. So funny. They're not even a bottle of liquor, right? It was just like a literal like crystal chalice of
Like a
scotch
decanter.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so good.
and the offhanded, I think I'm stuck on a skull. It's just so great. That's definitely a movie that you watch. I'd watch both of these movies again for very different reasons, though. Like, I would watch Cell again with you guys, and I'd watch The Dark Half with people who'd never seen The Dark Half, so I could watch them freak out about it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that covers all the bases, right? So we're gonna vote one at a time in a rotating order to see who advances. So we're gonna start with CM.
My vote definitely goes to The Dark Half as a superior movie that I don't enjoy despite itself. I enjoy it because it's good and it enhances the source material in a positive way.
Ben?
Yeah, The Dark Half is a movie. As opposed to the like very cheap series of video game cutscenes that Cell kind of feels like.
It does. It feels like grabs from different Resident Evil games.
Yeah,
basically.
and they cut out all the gameplay of them fighting zombies.
Yeah. I'm gonna round it out. The Dark Half, obviously. That first round matchup, Cell, you didn't have a chance, buddy. So The Dark Half will be advancing to the next round. All right, our next matchup, we have The Running Man versus Dolores Claiborne. So who would like to start talking about The Running Man?
This is really hard. Okay, I have way more opinions about this one because I remember both of these movies. Dolores Claiborne, because we literally watched it like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And The Running Man, because
You
it's
can't forget
one of the
it.
best movies ever made. Forget Stephen King adaptations, forget movies we've watched for this podcast. One of my favorite movies.
These two movies have the exact same Blue Chambray shirt score. I have you know.
That is the only way these two movies can be compared. Because they're both very good for very different reasons, right?
This is hard because I have to, okay, am I judging something?
Mm-hmm.
I guess we have to talk about it for me to, okay, so The Running Man, first and foremost, despite it not being an adaptation in anything other than name, we enjoyed it and gave it high marks, which had nothing to do with its relationship to the story. We set that aside just because we found the film so much fun. And I think that's fine. But to rate it as an adaptation, it is a terrible one. And Dolores Claiborne is obviously a much better movie, but I would watch The Running Man in a heartbeat, and I never want to watch Dolores Claiborne again because it's so brutal.
It really makes us, like, we need to define what we are judging.
We have this conversation every year.
We do.
And I think the result of it is we realize, or we do define it, but then we break our own rule within 5 seconds.
So is this competition us judging which is a better adaptation, or is it which is a better movie?
I just think it's what we like better, what we enjoy better.
Isn't even accurate because I would say Dolores Claiborne is a better movie,
Yes.
technically,
Yeah.
in pretty much every way. Acting, direction, cinematography, pretty much all the ways. But it is nowhere near one of my favorite movies of all time. And The Running Man fucking is.
So are we going off just our hearts, or are we being more objective or subjective?
Well, to be fair, neither of these are fully faithful adaptations. I mean, they both change some things. So, as far
That's a stretch, though.
That's a real big stretch.
I was going to carry that on until I saw the look on CM's face change, and before she realized that argument was garbage. No, I mean, technically, the goal of this is to decide our favorite adaptation. That's the mission statement of this. So I guess that's where we have to have this conversation. I think that while on one hand, yeah, it is valid to discuss which one you'd rather watch if you had the two sitting in front of you. But like you said, Ben, like one is objectively a better designed and made movie, and the other one has Kathy Bates.
No, it's hard to not give something credit in a specific way because I don't want to deal with what it does to me emotionally again.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the mere fact that it has that impact on me, wow. Like, how
Yeah.
many movies affect you like that?
That's one of my favorite genre of things in general, I think, are things that I finish, I have to put down and walk away and go, like things that make me go, I don't need to experience that again, but holy shit, I'm never going to not think about this.
Like, it's having watched it,
Right?
you are now changed
Yeah.
in some way.
It's like Dolores Claiborne did what we wished Apt Pupil had done, because it's that same thing. Apt Pupil, we talked about it. We scored the book very high because it is a visceral and disgusting and emotional, like it affects you in that way. But then that adaptation was the worst thing that ever happened to any of our eyes. Dolores Claiborne managed to keep that steady. Like, I was displeased the right way for both, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they both gave me the equal, this is gross and I need some time away from it.
My favorite matchups are where our entire conversation about it, I don't know how I'm going to vote. And this is
I hate to say that I always knew and I was never going to change my mind. So that's on me.
Is there anything anybody else wants to say about either of these? Because we didn't really talk about
We
either of them
didn't.
specifically. We got dragged into semantics.
Here's the case for The Running Man. Remember when that dude Dynamo gets his balls blown off or whatever?
Yeah,
That was cool.
that was pretty cool.
He was like a weird opera singer and then he got exploded.
That guy's gimmick was just the best. Or what's the host? What was his name?
Oh yeah, Richard Dawson.
Richard Dawson.
Mhm.
When Arnold puts Richard Dawson in the thing and shoots him down, and we were like, he can't see that crash, so he was counting Mississippis in his head
Hell yeah.
to give that final one-liner.
I feel like what we're really talking about is Arnie versus Kathy.
Ooh. Oh, that's a
So think
hard
about that.
matchup.
The fact that we have never seen a Kathy Bates, Arnold Schwarzenegger led film is breaking my heart right now.
There's still time.
I'm just thinking, if I removed Kathy Bates from that movie, but it had an acceptable replacement, like somebody who did a good job, but was not Kathy Bates, how would that stack up again? Which is a pointless thought exercise, but
All right.
it just made me realize, like, in my head, my decision's going to be, Arnold versus Kathy.
You're on the right track. I'm going to propose take these two movies, swap leads.
No,
Suddenly, they're both my favorite movie.
they both advance to the next round. Okay.
Arnold.
Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to play a beleaguered Maine mother
I just want to see the scene with the creamer pot where he kills Joe.
Think about him in, I forget what it's called. We Saw Arnold Pregnant.
Junior?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been a mother before.
I
You're
wish that
correct.
movie was called We Saw Arnold Pregnant.
I feel like if we didn't have a title for this episode, that would be it.
That'd be it. Oh my
We
goodness.
should talk about Dolores Claiborne real quick, though, even though we just talked about it
Yeah.
on our episode. Because that movie it's beautiful, it's surreal, it's engaging, it's heartbreaking. It's a really good movie.
It is. I said it on the episode that I felt like the problem I couldn't shake was how much better the structure of the book was versus the structure that was used to tell the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a level of enjoyment away from me, which is really my only complaint against that movie. All right, let's go ahead and let's vote. Ben, you're up first.
It's The Running Man. I want to go home and watch it right now. I'm probably going to go home and watch The Running Man after this.
I hope you do.
I'm going to go The Running Man also.
Oh my God.
Yeah. CM?
I'm going to go with Dolores Claiborne because as much as I like The Running Man and as fun as it is, I think I have to honor how good a movie and an adaptation Dolores Claiborne is. And even though it hurts me, that's a unique thing that not many movies are able to do. And there are plenty of other silly, fun movies like The Running Man that I enjoy just as much.
Yeah. And I mean, in all fairness, we do give The Running Man a lot of shit that it's nothing like the book. I mean, it is in certain ways. Like it takes the elements of the dystopian future. Yes, it turns it around to a silly gimmick and makes it cartoonish, but it does have at its roots the details about the story, about the world, I guess I should say.
You don't have to defend it. You guys won. It's fine.
Up next, our third matchup, we have Pet Sematary versus the Tommyknockers. Oh boy. At first, when I saw this matchup, I was like, this is easy. And now I'm like, I don't know.
What?
What?
Okay, Josh, you go first.
Yeah, explain yourself.
Explain yourself.
Okay, so yes, the Tommyknockers has some problems.
I
We
thought you
can
were gonna
all
say
agree.
The Tommyknockers happened.
It was the things that were great about the Tommyknockers. The downside, it was too long. The chemistry of our leads didn't work. We can all agree on that.
Can I tell you that whenever I think of the Tommyknockers, the image that pops into my head is me watching them try to kiss. That is what that movie is for me.
Fair. What I really loved, like revisiting the Tommyknockers, was I loved all the design, seeing all of the Tommyknocker devices brought to life and how they were that mix of how they described them in the book. Just kind of looked like things, random household things stuck together, and now they're a monster machine.
My God. Shut up. Okay, listeners, here's a pitch. Sci-Fi Channel, get at me. Tommyknockers, the monster of the week show.
Like
every week is the Tommyknocker. There's a different person in this town has accidentally built a new crazy device, and the sheriff or whoever has to go around and be like, I gotta get them Tommyknockers out of my town.
you just described the show Eureka.
Yeah, that's what I want.
That show.
That's what I
Bring
want.
back Eureka.
That's what I want the Tommyknockers to be.
Sure.
What I'm saying is I would rather be watching Eureka.
But the things that stood out that we really liked, for instance, they dropped all of the nuclear war stuff that was very heavy-handed, but we still got things like guard assaulting a man with an umbrella at a party.
And then walking out of a
And then
window.
walking out of all like those things that were just so great in the book. This was one of those adaptations that really brought all of the things that I loved into the movie. They had some weird missteps because it's a miniseries.
Yeah.
And
Like the blow up doll alien.
like the very stiff alien. But they also had the shed, like the when they finally showed the designs of some of the stuff they'd kept hidden, which I believe we all agree it would have been great if we would have seen that stuff sooner, would have made it a lot more interesting. But all that stuff really paid off towards the end. And I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Tommyknockers.
To me, I don't know, listening to you reminding me of things about the Tommyknockers did kind of be like, oh yeah, Jimmy Smits was in that.
Yeah, he was.
That's fun. But it feels unfair. It feels unfair to compare. Really, it almost feels unfair to any of the mini series.
I don't know, though, because the
No?
thing that these two have in common, Pet Sematary and Tommyknockers, is they both deal with a very emotional topic. One is grief and the other is addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more about the book probably, but I just remember whatever the problems with the book, the realism with which Guard's character was portrayed as an alcoholic and when it hit me at a time in my life was really interesting. And I think that kind of carries over into the movie too, just that I don't feel like it was as highlighted. I don't know, when we talked about it, when you were re-listening, Josh, did it seem like they had that element in there really?
It was less prevalent. It more focused on what we actually had said we wished the book had been more of, which is Guard seeing the town change and seeing it from his perspective, all these people slowly becoming. And then in the twist that we especially liked was Guard deciding to fake becoming in order to infiltrate, which were things that when we were reading the book, we were like, God, this would have been so much better if this happened. And then it happened in the miniseries.
I think one of my problems, and I'm sure this is always an issue with our March Madness stuff, but it's going to be hard for me, even though this is about the movies, to separate my feelings about the book from that, because it's kind of tied together in many ways. Even if I hate an adaptation, if I like the book, I'm going to be a little more forgiving, probably.
That's really fair, because like it is gonna be hard to do, and I don't know our future matchup. So if this is a spoiler, theoretically, Misery, it's gonna be hard to put that up against a movie that was equally good, but isn't Misery.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things that we cover them when we cover the book, so those feelings are tied. If we had read these books and then months later watched the movies, it'd probably be a lot easier to separate those feelings because the details wouldn't be so fresh in our heads.
Pet Sematary movie, man. It's just...
That's
one of my
saying.
favorite adaptations, too. Like, even... Yeah, I can't separate it from the book, and I loved the book more than Tommyknockers, although I did really like Tommyknockers. There's so many... And we're talking about... Because we did cover the remake, but I assume we're talking about the original Pet Sematary.
The Denise Crosby vehicle.
Yes.
Pet Sematary.
Yeah, they were very faithful. Even if they had done other things to it, they nailed the grief part of it so well. It was amazing.
Yeah. I guess what I meant when I said like this matchup feels unfair is that like regardless of how good or not the Tommyknockers miniseries is, I'll agree. I have fun nostalgic feelings. I would watch it again with you guys. But regardless, going up against like Pet Sematary is like a legit horror classic. Like divorced from Stephen King, like, we're all here because we're all Stephen King stans or whatever, but like even divorced of that connection, it is still just an absolute masterpiece of a movie. And comparing that to a made-for-TV miniseries, regardless of how good it is going to feel a little lopsided to me.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because there are things that my problems with Pet Sematary are all so nitpicky especially when you compare them to the laundry list of problems in Tommyknockers. Mostly, one is more boring than the other, and one has a song written by the Ramones.
I think, too, the way we watch miniseries now that were made before binge watching is unfair to them. And I want to acknowledge that, although I can't change the way it makes me feel about it, because it's hard to watch things that were meant to be watched week to week rather than all at once. And there's weird breaks in them. Like, that was really noticeable with the It miniseries.
Yeah.
Like, what just happened? Oh, yeah, that was probably
That was a commercial break.
Yeah.
So I think Tommyknockers suffers that unfairly, too.
Or like with the point in Tommyknockers where the intro happens again.
Yes. You're like,
And we're like, wait, hold
We
on,
were so
what's
confused.
happening? It was very disruptive.
I feel like I don't know, I'm ready to
Same.
rate them.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to go first, and heck, it's a no-brainer, guys. There's a Coke machine.
Oh my God.
No, Pet Sematary, hands down, easy.
I'm also going to vote for Pet Sematary.
Same. It's a classic.
Yeah.
What more is there to say? It's a fucking Pet Sematary.
So Pet Sematary will advance to the next round. All right, we're going to get to the final matchup of this episode. Have you both already forgotten what it is?
Absolutely.
I said it at
well,
the top.
other than Christine, which you just
I
said.
did just say. We have Christine versus Stand By Me. Arguably, I think, the toughest matchup in this side of the bracket.
Nah.
All right, see, I'm kicking off.
Yeah, go for it.
Interesting, because I think I'm closer to this being a very close matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And you saying that they're not close, I don't even know which way you're going.
I'll tell you, because this is with the movie. It's the same issue I had with the book for total bias, like for me personally, and why I think you guys like it so much. It's hard for me to relate to these young male characters, their behavior and experiences.
Okay, I literally still don't know which book you're talking about.
Stand By Me. It's
What about Christine? It's about two young male characters, and they're
Two young men who love each other, and a car gets in the way.
It's different because there are elements within Christine that I can relate to, and Stand By Me is just so much for bros. I know it's good, and I think that if I was a dude, it would mean more to me. But as a girl, I'm just kind of like, yeah, guys are gross. This is fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so
Why are you
funny.
you guys are
Christine is so much more bro-y than Stand By Me.
100%. I 100% agree, Ben.
Maybe I'm just not a car guy. I just associate car
You're not
shit
a car
with,
boy. We've established that.
as we all know on this podcast, I'm not a car boy, and like I just associate that with more like
The carpenter of it all does give Christine an unfair advantage for me because he's one of my favorite directors.
absolutely. And just thinking about the movies, like what made me think that they're so close, because I thought I knew which way I was leaning, but when you were like, no, this is really not one, this is one-sided, I was immediately like, it is? I don't know which side I'm leaning towards.
Also, Stand By Me is it's such a different style of movie than Christine. Christine's a horror movie, and the book is, a scary book. And Stand By Me is part of this series, like, different seasons. King was basically saying, yeah, I can write non-horror too, guys. Here you go. And he's right.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
can and he did. But I'm more, I love horror. It's always going to have a leg up.
I'm trying to process my feelings in this moment right here.
Can
now.
I just talk about how cool Christine is then?
Yes, please.
Okay, and then you can talk about
I'll try and build an argument for Stand By Me in my head.
Okay. Oh, that's unfair. I have to go first.
Oh, you go.
You
Go,
volunteered.
go.
Oh, no. I mean, I have to go first, and now you get to rebut everything. No. Anyway, yeah, Christine, I remember enjoying the hell out of that movie. I know they're going to remake it, which I think will be fun. Maybe it's time, but I love the original so much. And Keith Gordon as Arnie Cunningham, dude, kills it. He makes the Arnie character something more than he was on paper too, which is really cool. There were some things that I wish they would have included from the book that I thought would have been really neat and added to that horror element. I loved John Carpenter's score when we didn't have like there's a lot of music in there because it's a classic car and that plays into it. But his score, those John Carpenter moments and those shots that you're like, yep, that I'm watching a Carpenter film. Just so much fun.
I know I was supposed to be building an argument, but the more you talk, the more I was like, fuck yeah, Christine's actually a really good
It's
movie.
a great movie.
Well, not to use your own words against you, Ben, but in that episode you said this has become your example of a movie that's better than the book.
Yeah.
Which is a strong case for it. But I really think that Stand By Me has a lot more to offer. Because it is... Stand By Me, I mean, it's kind of unfair to lump it in with Shawshank since they both come from that same book, but it's in that same vein. It's Stephen King telling stories that feel true. And while I'm going to sound stupid for a second, because so much of horror gets lumped in with like, that's just a horror movie. And when people look at things as just a horror movie, they're not looking at the subtext, which I think Christine, the film adaptation is awesome, but I think it loses a lot of the subtext.
Yeah, because of the choice they made with what Christine is all about.
Right.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And Stand By Me is one of those movies that shaped a generation. We've had so many people that we've talked to on the show. We say, what was your first Stephen King experience? And it was Stand By Me. I saw Stand By Me in theaters, didn't know it was Stephen King, went home and made my parents go buy it, and been reading Stephen King ever since. It is like shaped a generation of Stephen King filmmakers that we've talked to.
It might be a more important movie. I know Christine is going to lose, and I'm only pissed because Running Man, really? Like, you picked something fucking fun over an important, really good movie, and now we're going to do the exact opposite. This is why our brackets are crazy.
The problem is that both of these movies are fun.
Yeah. Well,
Dolores Claiborne.
This Stand By Me is not fun, I don't feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
I think there are chunks of fun.
That's not a bad thing, but I have more fun watching Christine.
I think the comparison between Stand By Me and Dolores Claiborne is pretty apt, even though Dolores Claiborne is way more tense and heavy. It's just the era that they were made. They're both very 90s, and they both have that feel to it. I don't know. Can we vote?
Or do you have any other? I mean, do you want to share what you think about?
I'm just gonna have to fucking bulldoze my way through this one. I think this is gonna be one of those. I don't know what I say until I open my mouth. Things. So
I've got one more thing to put out there since we're talking about the Dolores Claiborne Stand By Me comparison, which you're right, it is an inappropriate.
Oh
comparison.
no! I mean, this is half of why it's fun.
But what I mean is that both of these stories are, as I believe we've discussed, that are plot light. Because if you were to say sum up either of these stories, it would take you 3 sentences max, pretty much, if you wanted to get just what this plot is. The way that Stand By Me benefits is we have these 4 very different characters. So where Dolores Claiborne, you're really just getting this one hard line. You're seeing not only these 4 different people, but it also has the Gordy is the writer. Like they do the cutaway to the vomiting kid story. Thank God they don't do fast cars. But there are the way that movie is structured is to give you scenes where stuff happens.
I wish I had a better way to say this because I feel like it's going to feel like I'm pulling a card.
Okay.
And I'm trying not to, but I might be accidentally, so I'm willing to admit that if you guys feel like that's the case. I feel like, sorry, I'm making this about Stand By Me and Dolores Claiborne and not our actual match.
Okay.
I feel like you guys relate to Stand By Me because it's boys. I relate more to Dolores Claiborne because it's a female-centric, it's about relationships between women. And there's only one of me and there's 2 of you. And I guess I'm trying to say in a nice way, I think you guys are biased, but maybe I'm wrong. And maybe I'm biased too, because I mean, I just admitted I can't relate to Stand By
sure.
Me. I can relate to Dolores Claiborne.
I haven't compared those two. Well, I mean, they're. I just compared the movies because they're similar.
I guess I'm thinking of the comparison in terms of how we ranked. How the matchup went between Dolores and Running Man, and how this one's going to go.
Well, you don't know how this is going to go. That's why I wanted to vote.
All right, CM, you're up first.
I almost just said Dolores Claiborne. I got to go with Christine.
Ben? Oh, you're going to go throw to me?
Yeah.
You're going to be.
Oh, Christine.
Yeah, it's Christine.
100%. It's hands down.
No,
it's
you
Christine.
were like.
You guys made me do all that arguing.
No, I was like trying to figure out what I was arguing for because I'm like, I don't think I like Stand By Me as much as Christine.
Oh.
Yeah,
No.
Christine's more fun.
Yeah, Christine's
a
amazing.
cool movie.
I'm sorry. I just hate when I get really sweaty for no reason. I'm like trying to stand and deliver for Christine.
I got confused when Dolores Claiborne got brought into it.
No, I think honestly, I think CM, you knocked it out in that first pitch. Like there's so much that's great about Christine, and it's so horny.
Oh yeah, we forgot how horny are these adaptations.
Yeah. I've been keeping my horny calculator going.
That's at least one chambray shirt for horniness.
But it's the as much as the being born bad thing, I didn't like that as much. Mm-hmm. In service of the adaptation, it is one of those movies that while I think that I enjoyed Christine became like my favorite adaptation for a time there, whereas I found Stand By Me and The Body to be just kind of boring.
Well, I don't think Stand By Me's boring per se. It's just like it's good. It's good. It's much like Shawshank. It's a good movie. I recognize that. I will watch it on a lazy Sunday or whatever. But if you're going to be like, should I put on Stand By Me or Christine? I want to see cool monster car practical effects.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Christine advances. Now, that's the end of round one. So before we leave this episode, we are going to recap where the next matchups are going to be when we get to the final round in this bracket. So we will have The Dark Half versus The Running Man and Pet Sematary versus Christine.
Oh, sorry. I'm just enjoying thinking about those. That is it for this episode of Derry Public Radio. Join us for our next March Madness bracket. Bracket down. We're going to bracket down to the top movies.
I'm sorry, I don't know why that hit me so hard.
Bracket down to the top.
We're going to bracket down to the top movies. That's my new favorite sentence. That just hit me so hard.
Hey everyone, CM Alexander here. Thank you for listening to our March Madness Part 1 bonus episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We would love to know how your matchups are going. You can send us an email at Derry Public Radio, or you can find us on social media at Derry Public. Let us know if we got it wrong, super wrong, or just only kind of wrong. As always, check out our Etsy store. We have a very special Derry Public Radio March Madness design on there. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.